Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on this article in regards to earthquake activity near Great Falls sparks questions. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says 4 earthquakes in recent days have rattled some nerves in and around the region. A 4.2 quake shook the region on Thursday, January 29th, 2026. It was followed by a smaller quake of 2.7 later that evening, a 3.2 on January 31st, and a 3.7 on February 12th. The 3 smaller quakes were aftershocks of the larger initial quake. There have been no injuries, no serious damage, and no impacts on infrastructure reported in any of the incidents. But the shaking has some people wondering, are they connected, and should we expect more? And the answer is, yes, you should expect more. You should expect a lot more. According to Andreas Castro, a research seismologist with the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology, the recent activity near Great Falls appears to be within the normal range of seismic behavior for the state. Said the 3 earthquakes that occurred about a week and a half ago are clearly part of an aftershock sequence, Castro said. However, he explained that the most recent event, which occurred slightly farther away, could be part of the same sequence or related to a separate nearby fault, and that determination takes time and detailed analysis. He noted that while earthquakes happen on faults, identifying exactly which fault or how many are involved isn't as simple as it seems. In many cases, earthquakes occur along faults that are not visible at the surface. That's actually very common, he said. Sometimes we don't see the faults mapped at the ground surface. A waveform graphic from a monitoring station illustrates the vertical ground motion recorded during the earthquake that occurred on January 29th, with the shaking lasting just seconds before tapering off. While some residents in the area have questioned the recent activity, Castro said it is not unprecedented. The level of activity is within the normal range of seismic behavior in Montana, he explained. Although he says most earthquakes in Montana occur along the intermountain seismic belt in the western part of the state, central Montana is not exempt. Historical records indicate an earthquake near Great Falls on January 11, 1936, that generated noticeable shaking. The recent earthquakes occurred at depths ranging from approximately 6 to 13 miles below the surface. That depth range tells seismologists that the rocks in this part of Montana are still behaving in interesting ways at those depths, meaning they fracture and slip along faults rather than slowly deform. The Bureau website notes, although it has been over 4 decades since the last destructive earthquake in Montana, small earthquakes are common in the region, occurring at an average rate of 7 to 10 earthquakes per day. The website features several interactive maps, including one example from 2018 that shows the 2,395 earthquakes recorded in Montana that year, and additional earthquakes in the surrounding region. All but 23 of those quakes registered as less than 3.0, which demonstrates how small and imperceptible the vast majority are. At this time, Castro says there is no indication that the recent cluster suggests something larger is coming. So we cannot predict earthquakes in space or time or magnitude, he said. Additional aftershocks are possible. That's normal for any earthquake sequence, but we don't have any evidence of escalating activity. Yeah, but see, people are right to be worried, because even if it's common, that doesn't mean that things aren't going to get worse. See, those of us of the hopeful elect, we know what time and season we're in. We know we're in the last days, and we know that in these last days, the earthquakes, the fires, the storms and tempests, the volcano eruptions, all of these things are going to escalate. So when people start asking questions of, is this going to become more of a thing? The answer is yes. Second Timothy 3:1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And when you look up the definition of perilous, it means full of danger or risk. And I have the definition of perilous here. Slakia, of danger here. It says the possibility of suffering harm or injury, peril, hazard, risk. It says a person or thing that is likely to cause harm or injury. And that's these earthquakes. You know that if the Lord intensifies them to a certain extent, destruction happens and people can get killed. We've seen it happen so many times. It says the possibility of something unwelcome or unpleasant. And people don't want earthquakes. Like having the ground shake underneath you doesn't seem like a very pleasant experience. And as I've said before, there are a lot of people who have experienced earthquakes. They've experienced like light earthquakes, minor earthquakes. And even that still scared them. Because it's like, it's literally the earth shaking underneath you. Like, that has to be a very unsettling feeling. So it doesn't matter if it's a 1 point something magnitude or a 2 point something magnitude or a 3 point something. Those are more on the minor end of things. It doesn't matter. An earthquake is still an earthquake, and it's still going to make people very uncomfortable. It's just like with storms and tempests, when the Lord sends hurricanes, there are plenty of people who have been through a couple of hurricanes in their lifetime. It doesn't mean that they get excited or look forward to getting hit with an earthquake. Slakia, get hit with a hurricane or a tornado. It's like, it's not fun. They don't look forward to it. It's not exciting. It doesn't matter how light it is, how minor it is, because you know what it could do. Because we've seen the destructive nature of earthquakes and of hurricanes and tornadoes. And we know that even with all his technology, Esau still can't predict everything, because he's not the Heavenly Father. Esau could tell you, oh yeah, this storm, it's going to be a light storm. And then when it hits so much harder than what they thought it would. Because ultimately, how much of an impact something makes, that's completely up to the Lord. The Lord could completely deceive you, in a sense, and make you think that it's not going to be that bad until it's right on top of you. And then it's the worst thing you've ever experienced. The Lord has the power to do that, and Esau's technology can't predict that, and that's the problem. A lot of people put a lot of faith in Esau and his technology, and they're like, oh, we'll be fine, there's all these satellites, and technology has advanced so much. Like, they really think that Esau can just always be ahead of whatever is going to happen, and that's just not the case. There's a lot of times where devastation struck, and people were not warned about it. Isaiah 29:6, Thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And the Lord, He's been visiting several places with these earthquakes. Different cities, different countries, hitting them with varying magnitudes of earthquakes. So when people ask the question, like, oh, is this something we should be worried about? Is this going to become more frequent, more common? The answer is absolutely. Yes, it will. The scriptures said so. Matthew 24:7, For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. And when you look up the definition of diverse, it means many or multiple. And clearly there's earthquakes happening in many and in multiple places all over the world. So there is no getting around it. 2 Ezra 9:1, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Verse 2, Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Verse 3, Therefore when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and there's plenty of both. Earthquakes happening all over the world, uproars of the people in the form of protests, and even in some case riots happening in certain countries all over the world. Verse 4, Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Verse 5, For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Verse 6, Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder, and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And so the blood moons, the new moons, all of these earthquakes, all of these volcano eruptions, all of these storms and tempests, all of these fires, all the uproars of the people, all of these different things are signs letting you know what time and season we're living in. And we are living in the last days. So you can expect a lot of chaos, a lot of violence, a lot of destruction, a lot of mourning and weeping. Because that's it. That's the last days for you. Just total chaos. And it's getting worse and worse. And a lot of people still can't see it. And then there are people who can see it, but they're thinking that Esau, the so-called white man, can fix it. Once again, people are putting their faith and their trust in this wicked man instead of trusting in the Lord. And that will always be their undoing. It will always be their downfall. They're putting Esau over the Lord. And the Lord is going to show these people that Esau can't stop anything that he sends their way. And it's going to be beautiful to watch. It's going to be beautiful to watch all of these people who trust in Esau, suffer because, they're putting a man, the basest of man at that, above the Lord. They're trusting in Esau's technology that Esau wouldn't even have if the Lord didn't allow him to have it, So the Lord is going to show these wicked people who's really in charge and who's really running things. And it damn sure ain't Esau. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, for putting his spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith, and shalom to all the sincere believers. I hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah, which means Lord's will. Until next time, shalom.